What up, Naughty Steppers? Connor Whitmore here again with another video for you on the Nawtystep channel, and it's time for another Extra Nawties monthly roundup. Gonna go over some EPs, albums and compilations that I wasn't able to review in full, but which I still thought interesting enough to share my opinions on them with you. Shorter reviews because there is a lot to get through, this being a particularly bumper edition, so I'll just be identifying my main points with each one and hopefully showing you something that you hadn't heard of before. Stuff released on the 29th of July and after will not be reviewed in this video, but the next one. There's actually a fair few releases from the end of June in this video. And the releases are covered in alphabetical order by way of artist name or record label name if it's a compilation, and are all linked in the description box down below. Lastly, there will be a small list of special mentions at the end of this video, ones that I couldn't talk about here because then there would just be too many, but definitely check them out as well. And so kicking off this latest installment, we have the new EP from ATLiens, Ghost Planet. As with other projects from this duo in the past, there's always one song I find really great, with the others not quite reaching that mark. And that is the case here again. The introduction and Shelter are really good, but they set too high a standard for what follows. The 5 tracks after that just lack in essential ways, meaning the EP doesn't really carry through from start to finish. I appreciate the variety in approaching their style, the theme of it, the range of sounds used, but overall it's just okay, not outstanding. This is properly high-octane trap music from Bad Rapper, some of which is very spot on and other parts comparatively lacking, but not by that much. Track 1, 200 is brilliant, Annihilate is pretty good, and OMG is very solid, so overall a good project. In your face, hard-hitting, savage, gnarly, big recommend. It's difficult talking about such a big compilation in such a short, concise way with so many producers on show, but overall I think Syndicate Volume 3 is alright. High energy stuff. I'm not big on a lot of the ideas and execution, but as a collection of songs, if you like that metallic, overly heavy approach to dubstep, it's good. My favourites probably come from Cyclops and Pnik and UK, most of the rest unfortunately fall short in important ways, but a decent compilation. Not gonna lie, this is the first I'd heard of Billain, but this album is pretty much everything I enjoy about dark, futuristic, soundscape EDM. Very long LP, but enrapturing throughout, scenic, great musicality, a lot of D&B on show, but also a lot of slower tempo, drawn out production going on. Difficult to pick moments, but my favourite is probably By Location, one of my top albums of the year so far. Check it out. Been really enjoying the output of Enei recently, but I can't lie, this EP hasn't quite grabbed me as much as I thought it would. The production is of course very clean, but the ideas come across as a bit awkward, not providing enough to really get into them. Just a bit plain and ordinary, overall mood is there but nothing really wowing me, too much of it drones on. I think the overall problem I had with this Evil Wave EP was expecting too much. I've loved a lot of his stuff in the past, but this just doesn't compare. Some really ravenous sounds on offer. I appreciate the mostly classical deathstep approach, but the percussion is generally weak and off-putting. And there isn't a track where it all comes together for me. The Temanite collab and Faithless come pretty close, but mostly not hitting the mark. And those weird outros to a few of the tracks, I'm not sure what they're about. When in spite of enjoying the general hideousness of the music's vibe, the deathstep is just a little bit too much to handle and overbearing. Whilst also being a little bit too similar sounding from front to back, too much noise, not enough variety. I like a fair few of the ideas on this EP, but unfortunately none of the drops have quite the desired impact, all because of percussion. The final track, Human, gets closest to that desired impact, but the rest of the drops aren't well assembled. The introductions are pretty good though. Another EP with many interesting sounds and ideas, tempo switches, but a lot of the execution is very harsh on the ear. The Leotrix collaboration is clean and juicy, but the rest is pretty difficult to get through. Can't believe he was happy with how some of it sounded, to be honest. Muddied and grating, so yeah, not for me. A little harsher than usual for a deep, dark and dangerous release, but nonetheless, very earthy dub music with some good flows and rhythms, well put together. Points where it gets a little repetitive, sounds a bit empty, others not quite doing enough, but some good underground menacing vibes on the EP for sure. I find this new EP from JOOL very interesting. It seems to sit somewhere in between really shiny, metallic modern dubstep and much grungier forms of production, making it ultimately quite unique, which I appreciate about it even though a few of the drop ideas don't strike me as anything particularly special. Some of them, however, are pretty solid. The second drop of Holdin', the way the second one in Camel Toe picks up, and overall the production is pretty spicy, flavoursome, well cut, so overall, yeah, generally a decent project I'd say. I absolutely love the energy and off-the-wall attitude of this EP. I come out of listening to it every time thinking I'm so happy that stuff like this is around. I always trust Barong to come through with something lively, but this has got the colour and personality to match across several genres as well. Some of it definitely falls flat on the ideas and execution, but more than anything it's that uninhibited delivery that grabs the attention. A very good listen. I had high hopes going into this, but honestly I'm left somewhat underwhelmed, not sure it quite achieves the mood and atmosphere it's going for. It's caught between being really immersive and kaleidoscopic and being very subtle, and the result for the most part is pretty unequal, seemingly hurried production. I definitely appreciate what he's going for, it's much better in the second half, need more musicians doing stuff like this, but it isn't a great representation of that style overall. This compilation is a very enjoyable listen, the variety and experimentation, lots of different moods and types of energy, almost all with this fuzzy, gritty electro feel to it. Some of the tracks are a bit ordinary, but there are a couple of corkers in there as well, notably in my opinion from Council Pop, Aleph and Left Right. But nah, overall a really worthwhile listen for all fans of bass music, some really adventurous and ambitious stuff in there, check it out. Put simply, this EP is good, just not great by any means. I can spot improvement, but it's still nothing on the full, rounded delivery of the best in dubstep. The ideas are decent, but the production isn't beefy at all, pretty threadbare and without the necessary punch to take it to another level. Needs more fleshing out, layering, tightness with the transitioning, and then it could be great, but until then, it doesn't come close. Very, very solid D&B EP here from Monty. Nice range of emotions on display, sharply put together, serious attitude and purpose to it. At times quirky, others heartfelt, then grungy and visceral. Not too showy, just a really solid project. Give him a follow, and the 1985 label whilst you're at it. Okay, let me get one thing straight. This EP from more Kismet is by no means perfect, but damn, is it some of the freshest, most interesting stuff I've heard in a while. Especially on the sound design front, that shiny, glitchy, all-encompassing approach is very detailed, sinewy, yet simultaneously warm, pretty and inviting. It's a mad mix. Also on the ideas front though, there is so much going on in every track, the different sounds he brings in, the construction, ambitious and wild, yet also neat and controlled. Definitely sharpening up needed all round going forward, being more confident with certain ideas and running with them more, but this guy is 14 and I think we will get that soon enough. Honestly, when a producer tries out a completely different style of music to usual, I normally don't expect much, but this nitty-gritty EP certainly bucks that trend. This collection is so punchy, fruity, cheeky, well put together, it knows how to hit that sweet house spot and maintains that for pretty much the entire thing. It's a project of trying to spot the bad stuff as opposed to the good stuff. The lesser tracks are still very catchy, really infectious EP and one of my favourites from last month, no doubt. Another decent 4-track compilation here from Audio, not amazing but definitely moments to each song that I enjoy. The general colour and energy of the Asura track, the way the Tom the Freak song develops, the enchanting feel of the Barjuwala song, but most of all the LM song, the percussive force of which puts it on a level above the others. But nah, overall a good EP, showcasing some of the best up-and-comers in dubstep. Most of you will know Vatira through the recently released Dogblood track Coco, and this is a very good introduction to his sound. This is booming, quick tempo bass music with a real big room, old school vibe to it, unashamedly confident in itself and what it provides, and quite hard to put down. Just a great throwback to the roots of EDM, expressed in a modern way, knows exactly what it wants to do and executes it well, a definite recommend. Quite ordinary and uninspiring this EP, I can't remember the last time I was seriously impressed by REZZ music. Her style feels exhausted. Some of the production on this thing is quite weak, darkness is there but it's nothing on the crisp, tantalising delivery that we knew her for originally. Couple of alright moments but hardly anything that really pulls me into her world, very far from what I love her stuff for. It would be great to get an EP or album where she isn't collaborating loads, just straight REZZ, but it seems unlikely. Could be the best thing going forward. This is a classically wonky and colourful sub-Carbin EP, but I'm not getting much from it on the ideas front, or the execution front for that matter. just doesn't do enough across the board. I feel like everything could be realised and unleashed more. Couple sweet moments and musicality, but overall, not quite the one. Must admit though, track 3 Champion Dub with Wolfie Wolf is a little bit naughty. Another very decent house EP, this time from Taiki Newlight. Not big on the first song, but the second two have very catchy, inviting vibes to them. The middle tune in particular, Lil Mama with Shift Key, has a lovely underwater feel to it, really lures you in. All round though, a neat little collection. Now, you know me, I love me some Troy Boy, but I'm not sure this Vibe series has given a great representation of his work of late. Volume 2 wasn't for me at all, and Volume 3 has a couple of decent tracks, but for the most part, I can't say it leaves me much more satisfied than its predecessor. Very glad he officially released Do You, one of my favourite trap songs ever. Warlords has grown on me ever so slightly, but the rest just isn't him in full flow. That's the problem when you set such a high standard. Really enjoying the exuberancy exhibited by Tracy on his debut NSD EP, however I'm not sure there's a single track here that really blows me away. I like the mix of bright, intense introductions and weighty drops that he's got going on, but a lot of the percussion in said drops ensures that they don't quite hit that desired spot. I think for a largely unknown producer's first NSD project it's pretty promising, some good stuff here, but as a collection itself I'm not sure it's one I'll return to again and again. Been enjoying Taboo's stuff a lot over the last year or so, and this EP sees him go for slightly quicker tempos and more purpose, which I think is very welcomed. Definitely times in the past where his music has dragged a little, but this has more character and personality within that experimental trap format, few off moments but mostly more together from him. If you enjoy that weird, jungly, quirky trap style, then this is very much for you. A collaborative EP without there actually being any collaborations on it, this is just straight up pure house fun from Volak and Phlegmatic Dogs. Some fascinating sounds on this EP that I can't say I've heard from either artist before, some work and others not, but overall it's very enjoyable, a real swing to it. At the moment I think I prefer the remixes, but that might just be because I know those originals well. Regardless though, as I said, very fun and enjoyable, and reminds me of why I love both artists so much. Then we have certainly one of the more interesting projects I've heard this year. Volume comes through with unquestionably one of the most unique EPs in 2019 bass music. Quite jovial in essence, but with a real bite to it, futuristic mix of funk, neuro, glitch hop, D&B and more into a really mesmeric collection of songs. For the most part really well assembled, very true, genuine fusions of light and dark in EDM, shiny, clean production, unlikely to hear much else like it today, very, very big recommend. Penultimately, again seems a bit harsh to narrow such a big project down to a short review, but bottom line with this is that I know it's not meant to be taken too seriously, a load of works in progress, but I genuinely enjoyed a few of these songs quite a bit. Tracks like Homesick, Empire, Low and Fucked, a few of the 1 minute songs are quite pleasant. Quite an effort listening through the whole thing of course, but I think it's a cool idea and something that should be done more. It shows the thought process of a producer, which can only be an awesome thing. And it reminds us of just how much a musician produces and how much of that they're just not that big on. I mean, it's not a project I'll return to much as a whole, but definitely a really good idea that hopefully we see more of from other producers in the future. And finally, hate to be ending on a low note, but this remix compilation, aside from the Oliverse remix, just isn't doing anything for me at all. Some seriously weak stuff in here, oh my word. It's a shame because there is so much potential with that vocal and main melody, but meh, I can't say that was fully realised at any point, and I won't be revisiting this one in a hurry. And so that brings the 2019 edition of the Extra Nawties monthly roundup to a close. The special mentions from last month are Acloudskye, Carbin, Conrank, Document 1, Godlands, Pnik, J-Code, Made by Suki, Nice, Nano, Navicto, Secura Burst, Slimes, VVN and 1000 Volts. I'll put the links to all of those in the description box down below. But with regards to the EPs, albums and compilations that I reviewed in this video, which ones did you enjoy, which others not so much, are there any that I missed out? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this roundup video then be sure to give it a big old thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, hit the notification bell along the way, social media accounts are in the description box down below. Next to my head there should be a link to another Extra Nawties monthly roundup video if you are looking for some more dark electronic tunage to explore. And lastly, if it's naughty, then you know guys, so be sure, as always, to keep it naughty and stay safe. And I shall see all of you legends in the next one. Peace out.